presentation is promoting project work through social media tools. Now, Mohammed Hassim is a teacher supervisor at the delegation. I can just say that Mohammed Hassim is an active member of MATE. He was former president of MATE, and MATE flourished during his mandate. And he's still working with the national board on so many projects. So I'm not going to say more. You just Hassim. I give him the floor to start with them. Thank you.
Thank you, Svetla. My presentation is a little bit related to Silardi's dealing with social media and with 2.0. I don't know whether I am heard or not. Is it okay?
Yes.
Thank you. In fact, this presentation is a combination of so many presentations I gave before, because project work is something that englobes so many things into one. In this presentation, I'm going to tackle so many points, but I tried to be as brief as possible in order to abide by the limit of time that we have. So, in this presentation, I'm going to talk about the resistance that people have towards using the internet in the classroom, and the rise of communication and networking of the internet nowadays, and definition, very brief definition of social media and web tools, and the skills, the basic skills of 21st century ICT project work and its impact on teaching and learning, the role of ICT-based project work on the teacher, how we can use ICT and LT. I'll just give an example or two, and then how we can combine different social media into one in order to be able to introduce ICT in the classroom effectively. The first point is that social media is now part of different aspects of life. It's not something new. Kids, students, adolescents, teachers, business, and everything around society nowadays uses social media in different ways. So it's part of today's world. It's part of today's students, and students use social media extensively. And you see how YouTube and Facebook are used by students, more than books, in fact. It's part of today's education, and as we have seen yesterday, we had an example of how you can deliver a lesson online from a very distant place, Britain, Morocco. It has been an imagination 2 decades ago, or just a decade ago. Social media is part of today's technology. Most of the time now, when we talk about the internet, we talk about Facebook, blogging, and so on. A decade ago, when we talk about ICT, we talk about PowerPoint, we talk about Word documents, possibly PDF, but now these are part of the traditional things. Now, we witness certain resistance on the part of teachers using these social media, and when you talk to people about Facebook and YouTube, it has certain notorious attitude on the part of teachers. So YouTube is something of adolescents, so is Facebook, and so on. But nowadays, Facebook and YouTube as part of today's media. You can find it on Al Jazeera, on BBC, on all the very professional media institutions. So normally, people are afraid of something they don't know. This is a general rule. And resistance comes from the absence of knowledge or from ignorance. And when you have this resistance towards something new or something that you don't know, you start to formulate some prejudices which are not true. So the first thing is to get to know these things before we produce certain judgments. And people who have never tried something are difficult to convince about the utility of that tool. So the first thing is to try and then to produce judgments. And some people have certain negative attitudes that they try to transmit to people even without knowing what they are talking about. I just remembered a joke that I read on Facebook. Part of it is in English and part of it in Arabic. There was a father and a son and a mother, and the son was asking his father, "What is the internet?" The father answers, "I don't know." "What is, for example, YouTube?" "I don't know." And so on and so forth. And the mother said to the child, "Don't disturb your father, he's tired," and so on. And the father answered that, I'm going to say it in Arabic, literally instead. So if a teacher uses textbook in the classroom and the blackboard, and it pretends to be, or she pretends to be, educating and teaching and so on, while there are other tools that the students use and the teacher does not know about, it's like they are the case in this situation. So if you want the students to benefit from you, it's better to use the materials and the tools they want and they use and they feel like. Now, Al-Arabi talked about a lot of shifts in technology, and I'm going to focus on the shift that happened towards communication. In the past, I mean a decade ago or just 5 years ago, people were much interested in the content. Whenever you go to the internet, you just go to get documents, Word or PDF or video or whatever, or to get information. Most of the time you Google something. But today, people go to communicate more than to get information. They go to Facebook to communicate. They use WhatsApp, they use Skype, they use different forms of communication. Even blogs are forms of communication. There is a shift from Web 1 to Web 2.0. I think Sarvi has already talked about this in detail. And there is a shift even in communication from simple communication to networking. So it's not only sending an email to one person or talking using MSN, either video or audio. Now you can network with different people at the same time using Facebook as a network or different grouping services that we have on the net. And there is a very great development in materials, in services, and in tools. So you have plenty of things that you can find on the net, and sometimes you feel in a very difficult situation to choose which one is better. For example, if you take only software for editing videos, there are a lot. And people use different software for that purpose. The same thing for all other things on the net or on your desktop. And in Morocco, this has an impact on everyday life. Possibly we think that things are normal now when you go to the ATM, automatic teller machine, and you get your money and you get the update of your account at the bank. This is something that is normal nowadays, but many years ago it's something unimaginable. Some documents we get them from the internet, from the ministry, from different official departments. And nowadays within the ministry, emailing has become official. In the past it wasn't. If you send an email and you are an official, within an intranet, it is considered as a stamped document. It's official. So this is part of the digitizing of Morocco, and even the identity cards we have now, it's for this purpose. You don't need to go to the administration to get a paper. You can just submit your card and everything is there. So it's part of digitizing different aspects of life in Morocco. And this is part of the plan that Morocco is starting about 3 or 4 years ago. And there is another shift from products to services. So most of the transaction that we have in the internet is related to services rather than tools. And there is a shift from local to global. We have become interconnected in so many ways. And also from preserving the status quo to continued investment in innovation. And now people always try to innovate. So each time you have a new format of a certain software, each time you have a new service, each time you have a new tool that you can use, and you see the development even in computers. They have become smaller and smaller, and then they are going bigger. There is a shift in the way that things are conceptualized, and most of the time people want to innovate. Here is a very simple definition of social media. So social media are computer tools which allow people to connect, communicate, and collaborate online, such as Facebook and you name it. Twitter, wikis, podcasts, and so on. So this is just a simple. They are tools to connect people to each other. Now, I'll shift to skills and education and so on, and then I will relate the two things together. We have talked about technology and the developments and so on. Now we're going to talk in the developments in education and the required skills, because education is preparing a generation for the future. So these are the skills that are useful for the future. In the past, the basic skills used to be reading, writing, and arithmetic. These are the basic skills. That's education. Nowadays, it's not the case. We used to talk about the 3 R's. You see that there are 3 R's there. Now we are talking about the 7 C's, not the 5 C's. So these are. This is a combination or condensed view of the skills. You can expand them into sub skills, and you will have plenty of them. But these are just a condensed version of the 21st century skills. So critical thinking and problem solving are part of today's world. If you have a person working within a company and he cannot solve his problems alone without relying on a superior, he will not survive the job. At a certain time, he will be or she will be fired. And critical thinking is also another important skill, because you have to think about everything that you are given. Nothing is taken for granted. Creativity and innovation, I talked about it. Communication is very important as a skill. If we just teach our students grammar and vocabulary and reading without helping them to communicate in the language, then we are not serving them the way we should. Collaboration and leadership is another skill that students should learn at school, not when they come to the job market. You should have these skills in order to be competitive and be integrated in today's world. Cross-cultural understanding, we know that we are living now in a global community. You cannot segregate yourself into a small group with similar characteristics and refuse other people. You cannot. It's not possible. Career learning and self-reliance is important. Computing and ICT literacy is a crucial element in today's world. A person who doesn't know how to use a computer cannot survive any job nowadays. Now, project work. Project work is part of today's methodology. We have them in our textbooks, in our official instructions, and so on. What is the importance of project work in education? So it's part of an effective methodology which is called constructivism. So we build our knowledge through life experience and through expanding our current knowledge in order to get further knowledge. So when you get into a project work, you are building a new knowledge based on a previous knowledge. Multiple intelligences. So this is also part of the new trends in education. We have to be able to deal or to use different competencies and skills. Visual, auditory, kinesthetic, mathematics, artistic, and all of them are combined together. Research-based learning. Students should be helped to look for information by themselves. And you should be trained on the skills of researching the internet and different documents. Collaborative learning. So it's no more possible to work individually and develop. You should work in groups and so on. Problem solving is also another approach for education, and you know that there are other things. But these new trends, which have proven to be effective, can be introduced through project work. So they help implement some effective educational practices. I don't have much time, I think, to go through all these things, but I choose just some of them. So for the teacher himself, if he or she adopts a project-based methodology in his or her work, there are a lot of positive gains. Problem solving driven. When you work on a project, educational project with your students or for your own satisfaction, then you are solving your own problems without relying on outsiders to solve your own problems. If you have a problem at school or in your class, you should turn it into a project and you work on it in order to find solutions for your own situation. It's based on local personalized needs. You only work on the things that you feel very has a priority in your context. It's product oriented because when you work on a project, you produce something. It's not like going into teaching using the textbook or simple lesson plans about vocabulary or about grammar. We have to have a global idea, a vision towards the achievement of certain goals. And in order to do that, you have to go through certain steps. It's practical and structured. You cannot work on a project like that. You come to the classroom, you open your bag, and you say that you are working on a project. You have to plan, you have to read a lot, you have to consult people, and so on. It's based on accumulated experience and leads to further teacher development. You start from your situation now and you move forward. It's long-term planning. It's not day-by-day planning. It's a long-term planning. It goes beyond the day, beyond the week. It's teacher and student-centered. When a teacher thinks about a problem, he's thinking of it for the benefit of the students. It entails collaborative work. Whenever you have a project and you need some help, you know the people you can work with and collaborate, and you can seek collaboration either within your community or online community. There are a lot of facilities now to do collaborative work. It requires and builds leadership qualities, because project work requires some qualities of leadership, planning, and preparing for future problems, and thinking about solutions before you come to them, working with people and sharing responsibilities. These are part of leadership qualities. Having a vision, decision-making, planning, managing, problem-solving, collaborating, evaluating, influencing reality, creating change, etc. are part of leadership qualities, and all of these lead to professional development and growth. So you see that project work is beneficial for both students and teachers. Now, if you see that the change and the development in technology nowadays, these things have become easier. So using technology, especially social media for communication and so on. Sometimes people say, I am the only English teacher in my school, or I am the only English teacher in the area. How can I collaborate? Who am I going to collaborate with? This is not the case now. Wherever you are, there is technology. There is mobile technology. Even if you don't have electricity in school, there are other tools which can help you to make your tools work wherever you are. So technology helps a lot in making or boosting the use of project work and making it easier. In the past, it was difficult to collaborate even within the same area where you are. Now, you don't need to meet. I know a lot of people, I communicate with a lot of people just via Facebook. We talk about different things every day. And I'll give you just an example. I cannot give a lot of examples, but just one which can give an idea about how you can use social media in project work and so on. So, for example, using Facebook combined with other tools. So Facebook now gives you the ability of using documents, using video, creating groups. We have seen yesterday Siamar talking about how you can optimize the use of Facebook. There's not only exchanging messages. There are a lot of things that you can do with Facebook. So you can combine Facebook with other tools like YouTube and websites and learning systems and so on. You can create class groups. So groups can be, according to projects, can work together within a closed world. You can communicate, not necessarily in class. And in this way, we extend learning beyond the classroom. And students, when they collaborate on some educational projects. You can create special interest groups or project groups. You can organize the discussions on certain topics related to the syllabus. Students can continue discussing the syllabus even outside the classroom. It's not necessary to rely on the 3 or 4 or 5 hours that you have within a week. If you help your students to use social media, they can use it extensively outside the classroom. just 2 minutes. One. You can share materials like links, videos, tests, and worksheets, and so on. You can ask students to work on video projects and upload them on YouTube, and students like to do these things. Possibly, if you tell them to do it as a homework on paper, you will find it boring. But if you tell them to do project work like presenting a video or a website or a blog, they can work hours and hours just to produce one document. They can search, they can look for words, they can look for ideas in the net in order to complete their job with certain enthusiasm and motivation. Okay, use of Facebook and YouTube in structured and purposeful way will provide a real context for students to acquire 21st century skills. I'm just combining the two. For example, if you use only Facebook and YouTube, and there are plenty of materials in technology, students can acquire ICT skills through experience, which is part of the 21st century skills. They can develop higher-order skills like analyzing, synthesizing, and evaluating. It encourages creativity. Students are creative when they use the technology, but they are not creative when they do grammatical exercises or writing short paragraphs and so on. It fosters group work. Students work together when they are using technology. They can use Facebook, they can use developing job market skills. When they acquire these communication skills, technology skills, then they are preparing for the job market and so on. Students take the responsibility of their own learning because they work on their own. So, possibly we think that we need a lot of knowledge in order to get involved into project work via social media, but I think we do not anymore need a lot of knowledge on that aspect because technology has made it easier for us. Things are easier. We don't know. In the past, you used to need HTML and so many things which are very complicated. Nowadays, you don't need anything. It's like word processing. So what we need is a good pedagogical project before we get involved into technology. Pedagogy is very important. A project, education project, is the most important element. Then comes technology as a means to an end, and not an end in itself. A minimum knowledge of ICT skills and tools, if you just know how to use the email and search Google, that's enough. It's the same principle when you use Facebook and other tools. The best ICT blend is the optimal use of the skills and tools that you have at a certain time. At this period, the little that you know can work, because you will acquire other things through experience. So everything can do in technology nowadays. As long as we can use a mobile phone, we can use any other things. Because the same principles can be transmitted to everything. So I think this is the end of it. So let's see.
Thank you, Hassim.